to see who they have contributed to. So we look at all of that. And in doing so, we often know more than probably their spouse does. I don't know. Now, this election, on Facebook, in your email, and in your direct mail, you're going to get a slate mailing. How many of you gotten mailings already? It's just begun, guys. Now, with the mailings, there's a certain thing called the slate mailer. And it's also email, and it's also Facebook. And what a slate mailer is, it has all the different candidates and all the different propositions. And it may say, Dobson Christians for a better society. It might say Democrats for law and order. It might say conservatives for a smaller government. What they are, they're small groups of people, private companies, that put these together. And if you open them up and you take a look at them, you'll see a little asterisk by each person's name. If you look really, really, really close on that asterisk and you see where it goes, you get a magnifying glass, you see the candidates paid to be included. Some of these slate mailings are Democratic. Some of these are Republican. Some of these don't care. You see a whole weird mixture sometimes. I think one of the worst ones going out is one called something like the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Recommendation. And you picture Howard Jarvis and you think it's coming from the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, and it's not. Maybe the very worst one was one that went only to Republicans. Maybe some of you got it. And what it was, there was a Republican elephant on the cover. Second page was a letter from Jim Brote, who is the chairman of the California Republican Party. And he's asking people to donate money and gives the Sacramento address. Then the third page is a list of all the candidates and propositions and judges. And interesting, it's got a little asterisk. And what the candidates and the judges and all that was were Democrats. And Republicans got that and thought, oh, this is from the Republican Party. And it wasn't. That's why these things are deceptive. Whether the Republicans do it, the Democrats do it, it's wrong. And it's deceptive. But that's what people do. Don't ever believe a TV commercial. They're distorted. I have an advertising agency. And I'm under certain requirements when I do a TV commercial or direct mail piece or a Facebook ad. There's certain ethics I have to abide by. I can tell you, these campaign ads don't abide by any ethical standards whatsoever. There's distortion like you can't believe. Downright lies and downright misleading information. Next. So we look at what all these groups, conservative, Christian, liberal, secular, big government index, small government index, we rate them. So in your handout that you have, the rating is based upon these other organizations, plus taking a look at some other stuff. So it's a mixture of different things to try to rate the candidate as objectively as we possibly can. Next. So let's get into the election. And as we get into the election, there's 10 key considerations for choosing a president. 10. Faith, worldview, experience, character, management, leadership ability, crisis management ability, communication ability, credibility, trustworthiness, vision, consistency, and then political positions. Now, most people of faith have problems with all the candidates in regards to 1 to 9. And I mean, look at the polls on trust. Trump has trust of 41% of the people. That means about 60% don't trust him. Hillary has trust of about 31% of the people. That means some 70% of the people don't trust her. It's unbelievable. But political positions, you know, we're not sure if when a candidate says something, if they'll follow through on it, but we don't have much more to go on. And so we have to take a look at what the candidates say and what they promise. Now, Hillary, she's a Methodist. She's been part of the liberal social Methodist activities over the years. She has the support of liberal Protestants, black evangelical churches, and liberal Catholics. Tim Kaine, he is a devout Catholic. He was thinking about going into the priesthood. He went down to Central America and got involved in the social justice movement in the Central America with the Catholic priests. Came back, ran for mayor, became governor and senator in Virginia. And he has participated in some of the prayer meetings on Capitol Hill. Donald Trump's Presbyterian. He has been courting the evangelicals. He had a famous meeting where back in New York that Hillary was invited to do a meeting and Donald was invited to do a meeting. Only Donald did it. And so Franklin Graham and Greg Laurie and Jim Garland, all these different pastors and church leaders went back there, where 1/3 of the people were for him, 1/3 were neutral, and 1/3 were against. And after they left, it kind of shifted towards him quite a bit. Right now, 84% of evangelicals are supporting Donald Trump. Most evangelical leaders have taken that position, though some significant ones are remaining neutral, and conservative Catholics. And interesting is Mike Pence, the governor of Indiana. Now, Mike Pence did two things which I think are a little unusual. When he was in Congress, he was part of Bible studies and prayer groups, and he's been an evangelical Christian. And he's known for a very famous statement he made publicly. And what's interesting is he hasn't shied away from it like you would have thought. When he accepted the nomination at the Republican Party for vice presidential candidate, the first thing he said is, I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican, and in that order. The other interesting thing about Mike Pence is this, is that he, I don't know if you've ever been on a job interview. He was on a big job interview by Donald Trump for vice president. And I've interviewed many people for positions, and I've never had somebody ask me what he asked Donald Trump, but he did. And so he went through the interview on the first meeting with Donald Trump. And when Donald Trump went up and left, he said, Mr. Trump, I'd like to pray with you. And so they prayed. And every time they're together, they pray. Now, Mike Pence and Tim Kaine this Tuesday night are going to be in debate. And it'll be very interesting to see what's said and how they say it. Next. Now, Hillary raised $373 million before the debate, and I think she raised $150 million after the debate. Donald Trump has raised, $165 million. I'm not sure how much he raised after the debate. Gary Johnson's raised 7.9, and Jill Stein of the Green Party is 1.9. California polling shows Hillary at 47, Donald Trump 31, Gary Johnson 10, Jill at 5. Now the polls have been swinging, so I've got a little bit older. I have stuff before the Hillary and Donald debate. How many saw that debate? Okay, next. Now, for most evangelical Christians, the number one reason to vote is in regards to the Supreme Court. The reason why, the court has been the instrument of more change than ever before. There's two types of judges. There's the judge that's the judicial activist. They're the ones who legislate from the bench. And then there's the strict constructionists. They're more conservative. They like to interpret the law and not make law. That they say the Constitution would say that the states and the people vote for law. So on the court right now, it's almost an even split with one vacancy.